minute to join, and we will start out very shortly. Okay, if people are still joining. Right, I think we're ready.
Good. So yeah, ready to start? Okay.
We're ready to start.
Okay. Thank you, Magda. And thank you, the whole team, Maggie and Jonine and everybody who is organizing this very complex conference. And it's really amazing that we can be together from around the world in different time zones and so many people joining. So I'm very pleased to be part of this. And I also want to welcome you all. Maybe some of you have worked with me before. Some people don't know me from before. So everybody, you're most welcome. I've been working with people for the last 40 years. And my special interest, of course, is meditation. And I work with family constellation in a specific way, where I always include meditations. So we will also do meditations during our meeting. Is my volume good enough, Magda? Yeah. Okay, you tell me if
we can hear you. Yeah.
You remind me if anything is wrong. Yeah.
Will do, yes.
So I'm here in the north of Germany in a little holiday house, and I am in 3 days. I started training in Turkey, so I was just have this chance for 2 meetings. I can join the conference, which is today, and also on the 12th of May. And I chose as a topic, as you all know, trauma, bonding, and family constellation. This is also the title of my new book, which will be published in the next 2 weeks, I think, latest. We just sent it to the publisher. And this is also of special interest personally to me. And yeah, because in family constellation, we work a lot with bonding. And bonding has effect. When you are bonded and you are in contact with, and you're well established in your bonding, you can recover from trauma more easily. That is the positive side of bonding. But bonding has also the side that it perpetuates us in a trauma field. So we have to learn to strengthen our ability to bond, and then we have to also learn to move beyond it. And this is something that I want to explore with you a little bit in this meeting today and the next time. So we'll see how we go. My idea is that I talk a little bit about what I consider important, what interests me. Then not too long, because I don't want to bore you, and also don't want to make it too intellectual. So I will give a little talk. You can ask some questions at the end of my talk. And then I'm going to work with a few of you personal, where you have the chance to explore a personal issue or a personal trauma that you feel you're dealing with. So in this way, I want to make it also practical, and also many of you who are already constellators, you can experience my way of working with people. For me, when I am joining a course, that is always the most interest, is to experience how a teacher does a session. And in this way, you can learn from that, and you all can also participate, and you allow yourself to be part of that field that we create together here. So as much as possible, I want to invite you to keep your camera on, but it is not mandatory, but it's nice to have a feeling that we are all together in the same room, like as we're sitting in a room or we're having a group together. Okay, so trauma is a big subject. Some people, they already get afraid when they hear the word. That's why some people who actually have serious trauma, they often don't do therapy because the word trauma makes them already afraid. But certainly in trauma, we have to deal with something unpleasant. And the question is, how do we deal with that? Because we want to deal with it in a way that a person can process his experience. Because trauma intrinsically means you had an overwhelming experience that you couldn't handle. So in therapy, it is important to give a person a safe space where they can process an experience without getting overwhelmed by it. In other words, if you were in pain or you had fear or something that you had to deal with that was difficult, you can process it only if it is manageable for you. And this is very different from person to person. So for some people, the same experience can be traumatic. And for another person, the same experience is not traumatic, it's just painful. And this is something to understand because family constellation as a method doesn't distinguish between what is traumatic and what is painful. In a way, you could say in a constellation, you treat everybody the same. And this is in a way, a bit lacking when you only do constellation work. There is no intrinsic concept how traumatized people should be treated differently than other people. So there is no specific concept to teach that. And to understand what trauma is and what is only painful, that is quite important because accordingly, you have to deal with a client differently. So what is trauma? As I said already, trauma is not just a painful experience. Every traumatic experience is painful, but not every painful experience is traumatic. So many experiences we had that were painful, in normal language, we say, oh, this was traumatic, but it is not necessarily true. It was just painful. So what makes an experience traumatic? That is an important question to be aware of. And that is something to do with our somatic system, with our body system, with our mind system, how we can process an experience. And for that, it is quite good to have a little knowledge about what happens within the body. So to study a little bit about the body and to learn a little bit about somatic therapy and know what is going on in the body is really helpful when you deal with trauma, because we need to learn to understand our body also. And the therapy is only effective if it also reaches the level of the body. So in a constellation, it doesn't really help if you only know with whom from the past you are entangled, or whom you are not having acknowledged, or whom you don't respect. This knowledge in itself is certainly not sufficient. Knowledge in general is not doing anything. Therapy means you have to help a client to go through an experience. And the body needs to be included in that experience. Unless the body is excluded in your experience, the body, the heart, and the last thing is the mind. So even the mind is not included, it still may work. And you all have seen also sessions from Bert Hellinger where he just did a constellation. He didn't say anything to the client. He didn't explain anything. And he said at the end, finished. And the client didn't even know what is happening. The intellectual knowledge is unimportant. It is only important in the sense that it helps our mind to support something, but the healing doesn't happen there. So if you read a psychological book, that doesn't help anything. It helps, or let's say it helps as much that it helps your mind to support you to do to start a process. But the real healing happens in our body and in our heart. So unless we go there, no, nothing of importance has happened. So this is important to understand. That's why I also like in a conference not only to give a speech, because it doesn't support your healing. You need to go through a personal experience while you attend something. Let's see if we manage that, but that's my intention. Okay, so what is trauma? Trauma needs to have the element of something is overwhelming from the person. And what we do when something is overwhelming, we tend to freeze. So trauma is like a shutdown or a freeze or a dissociation. In a way, you can compare it to the electric system of a house. Our nervous system, if it is overwhelmed by something, it shuts down, just like the fuse goes out in your house. So trauma is involved if something like this happened. You freeze, you dissociate, or you shut down. Something in you is unable to process an event. So this is an indication of trauma. When this is present, then you can speak of trauma. Unless this is present, we can't really speak of trauma. Then we will speak of painful experiences. So freeze is something that often you see in people, or dissociation or shut down. You see that in clients, and you see that also in a constellation. Yeah, maybe you all have seen constellations where representatives, they suddenly can't move anymore. They become frozen. This is also an indication in a constellation that you're dealing with a traumatic experience. Unless when there is flow and movement, then there is always a movement in a constellation also. And the movement is you go either closer to somebody or you move away from somebody. There is always movement. When there is flow and movement, there is no trauma. When there is trauma, there is freezing. This is a very simple way of looking at it, but this is quite important to understand. So there are different ways how you deal with that when you work with the body, and you deal with that how you work in a constellation. And one important way of helping a person to come into flow and out of a freeze is what we call resourcing. First of all, you make sure that a client feels safe, because in trauma, you lost the sense of being safe or being grounded. And one way to come back from a trauma, one important way is called resourcing. A resource is something that gives you a sense of well-being in your life. It can be a person, it can be an object, it can be a place in nature, it can be a personal resource, like an inner resource, like a personal quality, something that reestablishes your feeling of, let's say, trust in life, of being an integrated person. People who are traumatized, they often lose their connection to resources. They lose the connection, or they don't know how to, come out of this fixation on the trauma. Also, that you sometimes see in a constellation. For example, if you see a client, when they stare at the floor, they look at the dead person. And a child who maybe lost one parent sometimes is unable to connect with the living parent. So the living parent would be the resource, but the child who lost a parent is unable to receive or to connect with a live parent because they're focused on their trauma focused. So this is also important in a constellation, no? Because it is not only important to bring in the missing person, it is also to bring in the person who has been or is a resource for the client. And I find that very important because sometimes constellators, they bring in only the missing person who may have died or who is a perpetrator or something. And that increases the freezing response of a client. It makes them actually more frozen. So when you deal with trauma, you have to also work in a resource-oriented way. If the person is not so traumatized in a constellation, that may work to bring in only the person who creates pain in you or who challenged you, and still the person can move with it. But when you deal with a traumatized client, that may not work at all. So what works with one person may not work with another person. And the reason is because one person is in a trauma state, and the other person is not. So to have a knowledge or to be trauma informed is actually very important for constellators, because you will know what to do. Otherwise, you may not know what to do. And I saw many constellators, even very well-known constellators, who made a mistake because they didn't recognize the trauma state a client was in. And then the client left the session in a dissociated state and couldn't receive anything from the whole constellation. So, yeah. So let's work a little bit. We will come later also to distinguish what is a personal trauma and what is collective trauma. But I want to work a little bit with what is a resource, yeah? Because it's actually quite simple. When you, for example, when you talk about a painful experience, or when you ask a person, we often ask a person what happened in the accident, or what happened, or we are focused on the painful event. And we blend out the resource that was available at that moment for us to process the event. So when I work in a resource-oriented way, I don't ask a client what happened. I ask the client what helped you to deal with what happened. Do you understand this? This is very important. This is a very simple principle, which is very helpful to understand for therapists also, and also personally. I want to repeat that. Rather than asking someone what happened, I ask someone what helped you to deal with what happened. I don't want to know exactly what happened, not in detail. And this is also personally important. When I deal with something painful, I help myself if I look for what helps me to go through that experience rather than only focusing on the experience. And we often don't do that because our mind is oriented to focus on the problem. Our mind is not interested what helps with the problem, because then the mind has nothing to do. Our mind is focused on what is the problem, how to fix it. So we have to counteract this tendency of the mind to ask more, what is helping me with my problem? That is a resource-oriented approach. Okay, now I talked a lot. Now it's time we make a little experience. Okay, so I would like you to just sit comfortable for a moment. Maybe you can sit back. You can put your feet down on the floor if you are sitting in a chair. And you can maybe close your eyes a moment. And I want you to think of not the most painful, but some little difficult experience that happened to you in the past, either lately or longer ago. And don't choose the most challenging experience, but choose something that was a little bit difficult, a little bit painful, and a little bit challenging for you because something happened not the way you wanted it. I want you to choose one experience like that. And as you remember that experience, I want you to observe what is going on in your body right now as you remember that experience. For example, you may feel your heart beating a little faster. You may feel some sensations in your body or some activation or something like that. So as you remember that experience, notice what is going on in your body on a physiological level. And give yourself some time for that. So you remember the experience and you observe what is going on in your body. Your heart, in your belly, on your arms and hands, on your shoulders, on your legs. How is your breathing? Or are you shutting down? Or you become a little frozen or a little disconnected? Or you have a feeling I want to get out of here. Something like that. Okay, and then I want you to ask yourself, when you think of that experience, what was a resource for me at that moment? Or what helped me to deal with that experience? Was there somebody, a friend or a beloved or a parent that supported me, or another person, or something in my surrounding, or something that I did? When you think of that experience, what helped me to process it or to pass through it or to continue my life? What was there anything that helped me? So you ask yourself that. And as you think of that, I want you to observe what happens in your body now. Do you feel any change in your physiological responses? Do you feel some tears coming? Do you feel anything? What do you notice in your body? Or are you coming back into your body when you are going away? Are you having some discharge in your body? What do you notice in your body as you think of your resource? Is anything getting better? Or what do you notice? How it affects me? take another moment and feel where you are right now, in this moment, where you're sitting right now, remembering that this is something of the past and it happened already. And you're here right now in front of your computer and joining a group, great, which is kind of a healing surrounding, a healing field. Remembering that and then slowly bringing yourself back. Okay, so believe it or not, what we just did was a trauma healing experience, actually, on a small level. So I want to maybe hear a few people's comment of what you experienced in this little guided exercise. You want to say something about it?
If anyone like to say something, please put your virtual hand and I will ask you to unmute you.
Yeah, so there's a reaction button at the bottom and it says raise hand. And if you press that, then I can see who wants to. Okay, Sharmista, you want to share what you noticed?
Yeah, so I start feeling very choked and my heart starts feeling very ticklish and very cramped and closing.
The first
and
part.
my throat starts drying up.
Yeah.
And so all of those experiences, and I have experienced shutdown. So like anytime anybody raises their voice and shouts, I go through shutdown. So then when you said try and see what helped you deal with it. So the only thing, I found it very hard to recollect, but the only thing I could remember time and again is that I divert myself into any productive work.
Okay.
So anything that needs to be done.
So for example, what you do is a productive work for you.
So for example, when I had a problem in my personal relationship, I diverted my entire energy into my job and I grew to the position. Sorry?
What is your job?
So now I'm retired, I'm 57. I mean, I retired some time ago, but when I was 30, 28, 29, 30, when I went through that crisis, I went back to work and I put so much of my brain into that. I kind of offered becoming CEO and all at that young age at 32, 34.
Oh, okay, so you had the ability to not shut down, but to put energy. You didn't lose all your energy. You were still able to put energy into work.
Yes.
And if you remember that right now, what do you notice in your body?
I feel very vibrant, very jubilant.
Okay.
It's like I'm just ready to fly.
So what happens to your throat from before?
It's all opened up.
It's opened up. Yeah. So that is how you actually, when you think of that, that's how you can help yourself. No?
Right.
Yeah. Good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Then there was Diani.
You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I found it difficult to find the resource in this experience.
What was the experience?
Well, I feel I've done a lot of healing. So I tried to go back to a root cause in my relationship. So it was my first relationship when I was 15. And what I considered a best friend of mine confessed feelings for me. But it was a very traumatic, psychologically abusive relationship.
So you started a relationship with a friend?
Yes, I thought it was a friend, a good friend, because the friendship was good.
Yeah, but what was the difficulty?
So at the point of the confession, and I went back to that first point, and I felt my body in a lot of discomfort,
Okay.
a lot of pain, tension. My feet were stiff, and heart racing.
Okay.
And I tried to find a resource in that situation, but I couldn't.
Well, one resource might be, how old are you now?
I'm 44.
Well, you're 44 and it happened 30 years ago.
Mm.
So take a moment and
Yeah,
feel that.
I got it. Yeah. Yeah.
So we often forget that.
Okay.
One resource is time has passed and we were managing to move on. You were able to continue your life 30 years more.
Yeah.
And just remember that.
Thank you.
Good. You see, when you're in a trauma state, your bodily response is as if the event is happening right now. Your body is actually not in the present moment. Your body is a part of you, and your body is in the past, and your response is like that. So how to help yourself to come to the present? No? The moment you are able to do that, then when you start realizing it is past, something happens in your body also. Then your body learns, oh my God, I moved on. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Victoria? Thank you, Diana.
Hi, Svagito.
Hello.
So, hi. So my reaction was also painful because I felt this enormous solitude, like this loneliness. And I think that it's like a snake that is eating itself
But let's wait a moment. Don't go into, that is going to go into the trauma story. Just shortly remember the painful experience. What was that? And just shortly.
Yeah, the painful experience was a client that devalued my work.
Okay, so somebody who didn't think of you and said what you did was not so great.
Exactly.
Okay, and now you feel your bodily response?
Yes, I feel like once again, please.
How long ago was that?
It
How
was
long ago
today.
was that?
Today.
It was?
Today.
Today, okay. So you had a client and he said all that what you did was not so good. Exactly. So when you think of that moment, what was helping you?
I wrote a text message to my supervisor. I texted to my supervisor and my supervisor somehow held some space for me. My supervisor wasn't motherly or nurturing, but she just said that it was okay to be to receive a denigrating comment from a client.
Okay.
So that was my only resource, I guess.
It's a good risk. And how was that for you to hear that it's normal that a client sometimes talks like that? How was that for you?
It is reasonable. It is reasonable.
What happens in you when you hear that?
My mind agrees, but
yeah. What happens in your body?
I still feel some heartbreak, like there is so much loneliness that is still unhealed.
Yeah, I understand. Hello, you get a bit frozen. Now you're back. Okay, your picture was frozen. Now notice what you said, how you talked. You said, but. I get a little better, but that is also, how about using the word and? I feel loneliness and something else.
I feel loneliness and
Yeah, you feel also
reasonable words of my supervisor.
Yeah, well, you have a person who is reasonable and down to earth and doesn't go into an emotional drama. That is a
Yes.
good resource to have, no?
Quite
So
good.
take a moment. So take a moment with that. And just notice what happens in you now.
It comes down.
Yeah, it calms down, exactly. So this client today showed you that there is a wound that you need to heal. The wound of needing appreciation. This is a childhood wound, probably.
Yes, it's a wound I've been working on for a while.
This is a typical wound of therapists. In fact, people become therapists because they need appreciation. That's one of the main motivations of being a therapist. In the field of therapy, there you find more percentage of people who need appreciation than in any other profession. So therapists deal in this way with their childhood wound. So it is good to be aware of that. There is a wound I have to heal. And sometimes it overwhelms me a little bit, and then I need some support with a supervisor, for example, who is a bit reasonable and who helps me to calm down. And it's good you have that. Yeah, so how is that now?
Yeah, it brings tears to my eyes. So my body reacts.
Good.
Although my mind says, oh, narcissistic wound, it's unhealable.
Let's take a moment and see how it is to have these few tears coming to you. It's okay, no? It's a good feeling, no?
Yes, I think it's a calm feeling.
It helps one to relax. Tears are a discharge. So the moment you can cry, you discharge an activated energy. Crying is a way to heal a trauma. People who cannot cry cannot heal a trauma. Trauma is an unpleasant, painful experience. If you can't cry, how you can heal it? So the ability to cry is very helpful. So you didn't lose that ability, and that is a good sign. So appreciate that. Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, so many hands. Okay, Tanya.
Yeah, so I could feel my stomach tightening, and I could feel how I wanted to leave my body.
Yeah, that is
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and that experience, what happened 20 years ago, and the resource was actually nature and my partner just holding space for me. Yeah.
And how is that when you remember that you had there was nature and you had a partner who was there with you?
It feels confirming. It feels like I can fall back to whenever something happens. I can fall back to nature, and I have
Take a moment. Slow down a moment.
Yeah.
Take a moment and allow yourself to feel that. Oh, there's nature. I can fall back to nature, and there is a person with me who is friendly with me. And just allow yourself to think into that and notice that. Yeah, we need to give our body a little time. Our mind is always fast, and the body is usually slow. So if we want to work and heal something, we need to follow the pace of our body. You know, Also in a constellation, no? Sometimes you have to be really, really patient. The movements happen so slowly. And you just be there. Don't say anything, you just be there and wait. That is very important. That's the way how processing starts. Sometimes I sit with somebody, watch a constellation, nobody's saying anything, and for 40 minutes, nobody speaks. And everything that happens is very, very slow. Healing is like that. It's not instant coffee. Good. And how is that when you notice that? Huh?
It's calmer. I can feel my body calming and relaxing.
Good, yes. This is also a very important principle in trauma healing. It is always one thing at a time. You say one thing and then you feel it. And then you give a little gap and then something else. Slow. Being slow is very resourceful, usually. Most cases, that is a big resource. To have the feeling, I have time. Which is very missing in our modern world because everything is so fast and so speedy. And because of that, many people cannot process their experiences. They become overactivated and charged, and they can never discharge because we don't give ourselves the time to do it. Good. Thank you, Tanya. And then there was Belle.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello. I want to share my experience that my trauma is it happened 16 years ago. I had an abortion. And I did not want to go through that, but my boyfriend at the time kind of forced me to do that. So when I went through the experience, go through this, I felt my body contracting back. I felt the pain when I had to take the tablet, take the pill, and go through all those days.
Okay.
And the resource.
So the resource, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was also feeling very confused because the resource in the beginning was him as well.
Yeah, that is often the problem. No? The person who is our trauma is at the same time the person who is our resource. This is not unusual. This is very common. For example, parents. Constellators, we always deal with parents. Parents are two things. They are our trauma and they are our resource, both. Always. Yes. For children, parents are their trauma and their resource, both.
Yes.
And the people, sometimes they idealize their parents because they avoid to feel that they are their trauma also. And then there are other people who demonize their parents. And then they cannot see the part, what they got from them. But the reality is parents are always both, and often partners also.
So I also
wait a moment. I want to explain this to you first, and then we can look at it. So what to do in such a situation? One has to separate that. So there are parts of your boyfriend who activate you, yeah, who make you feel terrible. For example, when you say he forced me to make an abortion, that is not a part of him. When he forces you, that is activating you. He makes himself big and he makes you small. But there are other moments, other parts in him where you feel him as a resource, where he's not doing that. So I want to ask you, what did you feel? Are you still with him?
No, I'm married
But
now.
Okay, but when you think of him, what did you like about him? What was good about him?
He was very a very intelligent person.
Okay.
And he also he's very smart and he's very successful, and he knows how to deal with adversity.
Okay, so let's take a moment. And for some reason you chose a man like that because it helped you also. I want you to feel that for a moment. So you found a person who is intelligent and successful. That is intelligent of you to find such a person. So take a moment for that, and we'll notice what happens in you when you remember that at that moment you needed such a person and you found that also. What happens in you now? What do you notice right now in yourself when I mentioned that?
I noticed when you mentioned that, I felt a sense of relief in my chest.
Exactly. So take a moment and give yourself this time to feel that sense of relief in your chest. And I also noticed a little change in your face. There was almost a little smile coming also.
Yes.
Allow yourself
Actually,
that.
my tears keep coming down, but I feel a sense of really like when you get out of the prison.
Yes. Okay. So take a moment for that. So this is not the whole work, of course, resourcing, but it is an important part of the work. And it is like the preparation to deal with the difficult experience. Because when you want to deal with a difficult experience, you will have to deal with anger. If you're traumatized, you can't deal with anger. You're cut off from it. But when you feel this now, what will happen next? You will start noticing your anger. And that is healing. Without feeling the anger, there is no healing. The anger is part of the healing. Unless you feel the anger, you can't heal. The anger is our defensiveness, our protecting ourselves. And that ability we need to establish here. And if you have that established, then you have power. And then you will never follow what somebody else says. Mm-hmm. So probably because of some childhood other trauma, you lost the ability to, empower yourself and just say what you need and what you don't need. And then you get into repeated situations where you tend to do something which you don't like really.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really helped me to understand others. I cannot manage my anger, but now everything makes sense so much. Thank you so much.
So finding a resource and then allowing the negative feelings in you to come. They are important.
Yes.
Okay? And then you can process them. Good. Thank you, Beck.
Thank you.
Good. Maybe one last person I take, which is Noor. Okay.
Hi, thank you. While talking about the resource, it makes me feel more like a virtue that a person has.
What?
like a virtue.
Virtue.
Yeah.
What do you mean virtue?
I mean, when I call someone else a resource to get over something, it makes me feel like I'm giving the thing to someone else's hands. Like, this is my resource, my boyfriend, my parents. So it kind of makes me confused. Like, I feel like resource is something that, like your courage or your communication with the creator.
Yeah, well,
there's something I couldn't get.
I think it sounds a little bit like you're afraid to use other people as a resource because you're afraid you lose your independence.
Yeah.
That is a sign of an unprocessed earlier trauma, because the reality is we all need each other.
Yeah, but if it's someone who is hurting you.
Wait a moment. Take a moment and just feel that. How is it for you to feel that I need somebody? Close your eyes and feel that. Probably is not so good for you.
It's not comfortable, actually.
That's right. That's what I mean. That is the unprocessed trauma that brings fear in you.
Yeah.
And that's the fear that you need to process. Unless you process that, you're isolated. Remember, if you open up to somebody, you open up to your need. Unless you can show your need, you cannot be intimate. So there is a fear of being dependent, and that is a sign of an earlier trauma that you experienced where you were taken advantage of for showing your need. That is an earlier experience, and that needs to be processed. And the way to process it is to allow yourself to come in contact with your fear. How to be able to handle that without shutting down. So normally if people feel too much fear, they shut down. So come in, be first resourced enough so you can handle a little bit of fear. In other words, for example, finding a person who you can trust a little bit, and then also be allowing your fear a little bit. That would be a good direction.
Yeah.
So take a moment for that, what I just said, and just let yourself be with that for a moment.
Thank you.
Good, welcome. Good. So you see, being intellectual is a kind of dissociation. Very, very common dissociation. Common everywhere, in clients, in therapists, all around. When we don't want to feel something, or we feel overwhelmed by something, we become intellectual. So that is a kind of dissociation, and it is a trauma symptom. So people who intellectualize, they often tell me that they have an unprocessed trauma. That's why you do that. So it's not something to be judged, it is just a symptom. So anything can be looked at as a symptom of some experience that you haven't processed enough yet. Good. So now we learned to the importance of a resource. And then we learned something more now also. That means when you are resourced, you can lower your activation level. And then you can process some unpleasant feelings. And that's a healing. Unless you process an unpleasant feeling, you cannot heal. So therapy is not about feeling good. Therapy is about feeling safe enough so you can allow that which is unpleasant to come up. That is the healing. That is often misunderstood by people, by clients, and also therapists. They think after therapy, I have to feel good. Absolutely wrong. A therapy is a situation that gives you the safety so you can deal with the not so pleasant feelings. And you don't get overwhelmed by it. That is the work. And that is the growth. Yeah? And in a way, that's also what we do in a constellation. No? What is when you bring in a missing person, you bring in somebody who brings up unpleasant feelings in you. That's why you exclude someone in the first place. Why do we exclude or forget somebody? Because remembering that person brings up in us unpleasant feelings. And when we bring that person into the constellation, then we suddenly come in contact with those unpleasant feelings. The only problem is how to do that. Because when you do it full fast, the person may get frozen. And this is the difference. And this is something one has to, that's why I said that constellators should be trauma informed. That means how and when to bring in an excluded person. So it's not so simple really. Okay, the client lost his mother at birth, let's bring in the mother. That is not so simple. Yeah, so, you know, constellation work can be done a little bit more in a more sophisticated way. Otherwise, it's kind of a schematic way of doing it. You know, this is a mystic person. Okay, let's bring him in. That's it. But it will work sometimes, and sometimes it will not work. Then you have to ask yourself why it didn't work. Maybe I did it too fast. Maybe I didn't prepare my client enough for dealing with that. So this is something to be learned. That's why it is good to, you know, when I have a client, I basically what I do in the beginning of my client, I look, is my client overactivated, overstimulated? That is one possibility. Or is my client dissociated or frozen or absent or shut down? That is also a sign that he is dealing with something overwhelming in him. Or is my client well regulated? That means he is able to handle his activation level. So this is how I observe if a client comes to me. So it's not so much what a client says or reports that is important, but how he is related to what he talks about. That's why in the constellation you have seen, people have had the same experience in childhood. Maybe their mother died or their father died, and another client comes and had exactly the same experience. And one session goes very smoothly and it flows very well, and the other session not at all. It gets stuck and it doesn't move forward. The question is, what is the difference here? Why it is like this in one session and like that in another session? So this is something to, you know, to understand, and that working with the body is a good help in understanding that. Okay. Now, I was thinking I can do a little more exploration with somebody, and then after that we will have a little break. So is there somebody who would like to work a little bit on one difficult or traumatic experience that you had in the past and that you remember and you want to process it a little bit? Okay. I will take, because Noor and Jamista, I already responded, so I take Elise now for now. Maybe I'll work with one of you later, but her camera is off. Yeah. So, hello. Your name
Hello.
is Elise. Where are you from?
Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
You're in Canada. Are you in Canada now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so that is morning time there, no?
It is, yes. Early afternoon, yeah.
Okay. Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Let's take a moment and just tell me what you would like to explore a little bit. We will not do a long session like a normal session because this is not the space to do that, but just a little exploration. So, what when I said somebody who wants to deal with a difficult experience, what came to your mind?
Yeah, so I would say, so the difficult experience was that, and it came up when we just did the practice there together, that when I was younger, I was in a very abusive household, lots of trauma in that sense, and I was actually sexually abused outside of the house. And I've done my work about understanding that it has created a relationship with food and safety. So when you asked what the resource was, food came up. And I thought, isn't that interesting?
Wait a moment. That is a good point, no? So this is also like that with drug addiction, no? When you take a drug or alcohol or drugs, in that moment when a person starts doing that, they are a resource. Because, for example, when you deal with two difficult feelings and you take drugs or alcohol, then you don't have to deal with the feelings. So in that sense, it's a resource because it helps you.
Right.
And food is a bit similar also. The problem is that later, it is no more a resource.
Right.
Then it's activating. Now to think that you are eating too much, it is disturbing you, no? So
Correct.
in this moment, what was a resource earlier is an activation now.
Exactly.
So that's why in the work, it is important to find a different resource that is not activating you now. While acknowledging that when you were small, probably that helped you to eat. And then, also we sometimes do that, no? When you deal with difficult feelings, then we eat some sweets or we drink coffee or we eat something, and then we don't have to deal with that so much. And sometimes children do that, and it's good to acknowledge that at that time it helped you. Just take a moment right now and see if you can just acknowledge that. And just observe yourself how it is, what you notice in your body right now. What do you notice?
I feel at peace. I feel calm. And as I say that, I recognize that that's the feeling that food brought.
Yeah, but this is when you feel calm right now, this is a little bit the calmness of dissociation.
Yes, 100%. And I can feel that. That's what I was going to say.
Because that is very important to distinguish also. is it when I am calm, do I become calm because my energy discharges, or do I become calm because I dissociate from something?
Yeah, I actually think this is the first time I actually, because I think I've been sitting in, I know what I know now. Now what? And this is the first time I'm feeling this. Oh, it actually brought a sense of calm, which actually created disassociation.
Yeah.
I think more than dealing with the food, I'm ready to deal with the disassociation.
Okay, so let's take a moment and just feel that.
Mm.
Yes. And remember, underneath the dissociation, there are usually a lot of feelings. So we have to move into quite slowly, otherwise it's, yeah, and here are the feelings, yeah. And give yourself a moment to just let that be. Yeah, with your breathing. Yeah. I want to ask you, in your life right now, what gives you a sense of stability, or what makes you feel grounded? And are you living alone, or are you living with somebody? What is there in your life that you feel, oh, that helps me?
I live with my two children, my boys.
How old are your boys?
19 and 15, so they're busy now and moving, busy, not always here.
Okay. A moment and just remember that you're a mother of two boys and you grew up two boys already right now. I guess you're quite proud of them. Yeah. Because that's how it looked like. But give yourself a moment and feel something really good in my life. And what happens in your body if you notice that? In spite of my childhood experiences, I was still able to bring up two boys.
I feel proud.
And what happens in your body when you feel that?
I'm feeling a lot coming up in the kind of right in my navel, kind of some pressure, which reminds me actually of childhood. Yes. Feeling sick to my stomach, not certain what was going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, now you have to see, that's what I explained to before. When you start feeling resourced, you will come in contact with some feelings that you were pushing away. That is a good sign. That means your system is more able to deal with them.
Okay.
And that's what actually is needed to help you to deal with them, because then you don't need to eat too much. I can deal with them. Food is not needed. So it is about developing your ability to deal with those feelings. The more ability you have to deal without feeling, the less important will be food.
Yeah.
Food is kind of a substitute. That is because you have no other ability or resource available, then you go to the last resort, which is that.
Yeah.
But now already in this short time, what we're just doing already, you developing, see, there's some other ability. So take a moment for that. And there's also
I feel very in my body. Yeah, I feel very in my body.
Yeah. And also notice there's a little feeling coming there also. And that's quite important here also, because the way you present yourself is, I'm strong. But there's something else also, which wants to, well, like we all do, no? We want to be held, we want to also be acknowledged if you're so strong, no?
I have a question, because what I'm noticing, so when you asked to just notice the disassociation, I could feel my body tremble. That's, and I could, Yeah, I could feel like kind of wanting to run, and that it doesn't feel safe. Then that moved. And now, as I'm noticing everything moving through the stomach, the digestion, I'm noticing that I'm desiring that I want to figure it out. And you spoke earlier about a disassociation being intelligence and knowing.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I'm trying to reroute the disassociation.
The thing is, wanting to figure it out is our effort to try to control something which is overwhelming.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, yeah.
So it is a natural tendency in a way. It's our effort to try to control something which we couldn't control when we were small. No? So sometimes traumatized people, they develop very much intelligence because that's is their effort to control it. They developed very smart, you know? Very geniuses, for example, they are very traumatized in childhood. They became really intellectual geniuses because as a compensation. So, you know, you can take it like that or like that. But now it's a question of rearranging things a little bit, that you can still be smart, but include something else also.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will not lose that, you know. You developed it, you will not lose it, but now maybe it is also good to allow something else to be fulfilled, you know? Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's good you notice the trembling and the feeling of wanting to run away, because that's probably what you wanted to do as a child. And children, of course, they cannot run away. Where they can go to? That's why children have no other option than to dissociate.
Yeah.
Because they cannot escape the situation. I want to ask you, when you feel this impulse to run away, where as a child, was there any place or anywhere where you felt safe?
No, when you asked what resources in the beginning, I heard my whole body say there were none. Like there was nothing. And then I saw food show up. So yeah, no, it really wasn't available.
Let's slow it down a little bit, because there must have been something. Because otherwise you wouldn't have made it. So let's slow it down a little bit and just feel, was there anybody where you saw a moment where you just felt, or maybe this person loves me, because you cannot survive with food alone. Nobody can.
So I would say spirit. I spent a lot of time alone talking to angels.
Oh, so you had some angels there.
Yeah.
Oh, that is also intelligent. Children are really amazing. You know? They create imaginary worlds to resource themselves. That is very intelligent. So take a moment and just feel what this child did, this girl did, was very intelligent. She knew how to help herself. She talked to angels. She created another reality, and that served her. Just take a moment, yes. Yeah, and acknowledging that girl that had to go through a rough time, and that was the way she helped herself. Yeah, and how is it to have these tears right now?
It feels like acknowledgement. Maybe
Is it okay to have these tears right now, or how do you feel when you've noticed that you have some tears? How is that for you? Is it okay to see?
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a
relief, no? Yeah.
And it's
some of the tension can go. So give yourself Give yourself that time to have that.
Yeah.
Not talking it away too much, just giving yourself that moment of allowing yourself to have that without having to explain it actually.
Mm.
Yeah, because I also feel that this is good for you. You see, my impression is you create a lot of charge, and when you can cry, this can calm down, and you slow down also.
Mm.
That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
You see how easy this is for you actually to do.
Yeah.
Now your voice changed. And a big breath comes and a smile comes also. Welcome to the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we learn that this world doesn't have to be a place where we have to protect ourselves.
Mm.
It was like that one time, but maybe it doesn't have to be like that anymore.
Mm. Mm-hmm. The energies move from my stomach into my heart, and it feels like expansion.
Yes, yes. Yes, and you feel that breath that came now, and also the movement that you just did with your neck and shoulders. Aliveness comes there, you know. Softening is there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't mind, I would leave you with that. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, most welcome.
Thank you.
Good. So, yeah, before we take a little break, I just want to say, you see here how personal trauma, you know, we have to deal with trauma on different levels. There is a personal trauma here, and when you would work systemically, you would probably see another trauma of her mother, probably, or her father, but most likely her mother. So this is how traumas travel from one generation to the next. If our mother had a trauma, she will traumatize us. If we have a trauma, we will traumatize our child. This is called secondary traumatization, and that's how traumas travel from one generation to the next, through the bonding, because children receive that from their parents. So a traumatized parent cannot attend the needs to her child in an appropriate way. That becomes the trauma of the child. So we have to deal with two things in a way. We have to deal with the collective trauma, that means the trauma of our mother or grandmother, and we have to deal with how this became our trauma. So that's why it is helpful to work systemically and physiologically. So when we work physiologically, it is personal experience. When we work systemically, we work with an experience which is not necessarily personal, but collective. But mostly we have to deal with both. And then we get a complete experience and a complete healing. Yeah, okay, good. And I just want to also acknowledge that you're very, many people are really ready to share and expose themselves, and I want to acknowledge that this is really beautiful. So all the people who shared now and raised their hand, you were all ready to say something personal about yourself, and that is very good. That means you are ready to start a healing process now. So that is good. Okay, so I want to, is there just a question at somebody before we take a little break? I also need a break, and maybe you also need a break because there was a lot of input now.
There is a request on the chat.
Yes.
And is can you also speak about abuse, active abuse that has not crystallized and become a trauma, narcissistic abuse, maybe? That was a request on the chat. Okay. I can read it again. Also
maybe we have the person. Is the person here?
The maybe person got letter A in the beginning of the name.
Maybe you can share, ask your question.
It looks like the person might left the chat.
I prefer to see the person who is asking the question. Then I can not only answer the theory, but I can also answer the person.
Okay.
If there's somebody who has a question, it's nice you ask it directly and raise your hand. I prefer that.
It looks like the person left the room that they asked the question before.
Okay, okay. So anybody wants to, yeah, Melahat?
Hi, Svagito.
Hello.
I'm just not sure. You mentioned like the when we work systemically, we should also integrate the physiological part. Do you mean just the body, embodied?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But this is happening anyway. Doesn't it happen in a constellation?
No.
Do you mean like if you would work directly with the client? Or is it any difference if you work with the representatives?
Including the physiological part does not happen automatically in a session, because I have seen many sessions where this is not happening. People are not noticing what is going on in their body, but they talk about, or facilitators tell a person, do this, say this sentence to your mother or grandfather, and the person repeats the sentence, but their body is not there with that. So it is not happening automatically. And it doesn't happen if you, for example, come from what you have learned and then you apply that as a technique. You may not meet the person and you may not notice if the person is ready to do that, and this is the next step for that person. So you cannot say this is happening automatically. It needs a special, it needs a special attention. You need to watch it. Yeah. As if you're trained, you can see it sometimes, you know, the person says, I love my mother, but they make fists.
Yes.
Well, this is
but this also shows
the body expresses something and the mind and the word express something else. And in a session, you have to pay attention to that. And the body is always more truthful. So what you see the body is doing is more truthful than what a person says, usually. That's why this needs to be listened and seen. And it is not automatic.
Okay, this is what I'm used to, and I was really like confused because sometimes
Yeah.
Even to express, I can sense, or in the field, you can express something, and then it's like I get also the feedback, oh, it doesn't feel right. Or if it's sad, but then again, the question, are you really feeling it? So this is very, we have to be just very attentive and sensitive to all the information and yeah, really bring the body into the
Right.
constellation.
I want to add one more thing. When I said physiologically, I don't even mean only feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because even to go to the level of feelings is not enough. You have to go to the level of sensations also. So even intellectually, of course, is not enough. But even if you deal with feelings, that also may not be enough. Because trauma really is in a part of our brain, which is, you can say, it is a survival part of our brain. It's in the brainstem. And even if you deal with feelings, it is also not enough for trauma healing. So even you feel something, but you still have to notice what goes on in my body and to follow the impulses of the body. You see, that's why in a session, I often let movements happen for a long time without any speaking. I never go around and ask the representatives, how do you feel? Or very rarely, let's say, not or never, but very rarely I go to the representatives and ask them, how do you feel? Because it is not just about feelings, it is more than that. And that is expressed through something else. And often you see we have an impulse which is far beyond feelings. You may feel something else, but your body may do something else. So the body is more deeper level than feelings even. Okay. Thank you. Good question. Yeah, so let's take a little break. Maybe you drink something or stand up a little bit, move your body, give a little stretch. And then we come back, let's say in 15 minutes. Is that a good time? Yeah. You can do like this or like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So we meet again in 15 minutes, okay?
That we 9:45.
Yeah, according to my time. Okay, welcome back.
There's a question in a chat.
Okay. When working with the body and sensation, is it important, necessary to know which part of the body correlates to what? Discomfort, stomach difficulty, digesting the issue. Okay. I don't know if I get the question right, so maybe the person can ask themselves, but basically, it is not important to know from the body what the issue is. You can work with the body without knowing even what trauma is and what the meaning is, because when you work with the body, you work with activation. And it doesn't matter what the activation comes from. So for the body, it doesn't matter if you had, there are differences, but more or less, generally speaking, it doesn't matter if your activation goes up because you had an accident or because your friend left you. The activation for the body is the same. The body responds with a challenge with higher activation. What causes it is sometimes important in working with it, but it is not essential. What is more interesting to know is if my activation is, for example, is it a parasympathetic or a sympathetic activation? So for that, one has to understand a little bit how our nervous system functions. Yeah, for example, in the autonomous nervous system, that's where the trauma is. When we experience trauma, when our body feels that our life is in danger, then the more primitive part of our brain, the brainstem, takes control. It responds in a reflex-like way. That means when we are in life threat, we behave more similar to animals because animals do the same. So we respond in a reflex-like way, like a primitive animals. We are also animals. We are human animals. So a certain part of our brain that takes control. Normally our neocortex is in control. When our life is in danger, the primitive part of the brain is in control. And that's where the trauma is. So, and the autonomous nervous system, that's why it's called autonomous nervous system. It is autonomous. That means we cannot control it. You cannot make your heartbeat go down or up. That's not in your control. All life important functions are not in our hands. In a way, quite intelligent how nature has arranged it. Imagine you had to remember that you have to let your heart beat. I don't think anybody would survive more than a few minutes. You will forget, and then you die. So this is an intelligent arrangement of nature. Anything that is essential for survival is out of your control. You cannot control it. Nature didn't leave anything important in our hands. Only unimportant things are in our hands. Everything unimportant is not in our hands. Everything important is not in our hands. Only unimportant things. That is the arrangement of nature. So that's why the nervous system that regulates life sustaining functions is called autonomous or involuntary nervous system. So digestion, heartbeat, blood pressure, other functions of our inner organs, they are not in our control. So coming back to the question, when you don't need to know what the reaction in your body caused, but you need to understand if it is, for example, a sympathetic or a parasympathetic response. Sympathicus is one part of the autonomous nervous system. It's like the accelerator in a car. It brings your heartbeat up. So when you are challenged, your heartbeat goes up. Why? Because the body says you need more energy to defend yourself. And that is what we call usually the fight and flight response. In other words, when you're in danger, you need to have energy to run away or to fight and defend yourself. These are the two main survival functions, fight and flight. And the sympathicus is activated and it speeds up your heartbeat. It constricts certain blood vessels, so more blood reaches to the periphery of the body, to the arms, and then you have more energy to do fight or flight. And when the threat is over, then the parasympathicus is activated, and the activated parasympathicus lowers your heart rate and activates your digestive system. So the parasympathicus and the sympathicus, they operate like the gas and the brake in a car. So when you drive a car, you know that when you want to go fast, you press the accelerator, but you don't touch the brake. When you want to stop your car, you let go of the accelerator and you put down your brake. And that's how we drive a car. And that's how our autonervous system handles activation and discharge, like this. So the energy goes up and down. In the morning, when you wake up, you activate so you can meet the challenges of the day. And in the end of the day, you discharge, the parasympathetic is activated and you can go to sleep. Your activation is lowered. This is a regulated nervous system. When the nervous system is dysregulated, then something else happens, and that is what we call the freeze response. In the freeze, what happens is gas and brake, they don't work like this, but both are activated at the same time. So when you press the gas and the brake in a car simultaneously, what will happen? The car makes, but it doesn't move. So that's exactly what the trauma is. You are highly activated, but you're frozen. And that is also a survival response in our nervous system. And it is called freeze, and that happens when fight or flight are not possible. That means we cannot fight and we cannot escape the situation. Then the next level of response is freeze. Freeze has also survival functions because in many situations to freeze or to dissociate, they help, but they give higher our chance to survive. That is an intelligent response of nature. No? So for example, a child, as I said before, in childhood, often a child cannot fight the parents and cannot escape from the parents. Both possibilities are not there. So what is this next possible response? Is called freeze or dissociation. Like Elisa said before, she talked to angels. That is dissociation and that is intelligence. That is the only possible response in a situation where fight and flight are impossible. But this freeze response is meant by nature to last only for a short time. And then we are supposed to come out of it. And that's what doesn't happen in humans. Something happens in humans and our freeze response or our dissociation continues for the rest of our life. And that is a problem because when the challenge actually is over, for example, animals, when they're in freeze, and when they come out of the freeze, maybe the predator has removed himself and the animal is in a freeze. And when the animal comes out of the freeze, what it does, it shakes and trembles. So the energy of the activation is discharged from the body. Yeah, they filmed animals in the wild. When an antelope has been caught by a tiger, and the tiger leaves the prey and tries to get the young ones. And they film the antelope. And the antelope, when it comes out of the freeze, it violently shakes and trembles for a few minutes. And then it gets up and it walks to its herd as if nothing has happened. Humans don't do that. They often come out of, they often remain in the freeze, or they block the discharge. That's what we often do. No? We feel fear and our body wants to tremble, and then we hold it. And we, for example, say, don't be a coward. How can you shake now? So we hold that trembling. Then the body cannot discharge the energy, and the energy stays in the system. And in cases of trauma, this is the energy that creates symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So trembling, when you come out of the, often you feel a trembling. You saw that with Elisa before. Elisa was her name, no? Is it right? Elisa, no? She was, yeah. So she reported, no? She felt a trembling sensation. That is good. That means now you are coming out of the freeze and the body is trembling, and that is the discharge of the activation from long ago. Yeah. So what we need to know is our body in a sympathetic or a parasympathetic activation, or in both. That is meaningful to know. But not why why this body part feels like that. That is intellectual. But sometimes it helps to know, do I have a dealing with a sympathetic or a parasympathetic activation? There are certain symptoms which show that, no? For example, cold sweat. That is a parasympathetic activation. So when that leads more to dissociation. So when you come out of dissociation and you feel the charge that is underneath that. And you see, this is very important for therapists to recognize, because many therapists, they think my client is relaxed and they are just dissociated, not relaxed. And being dissociated is in fact the opposite than relaxed. And then the therapist thinks my client is relaxed, and from one moment or the next, the client freaks out and has a big catharsis. And then everybody's surprised. How did that happen? That means they came out of the dissociation, and then the overactivated nervous system was present, and then you get overwhelmed and then you go back into freeze. That is a very common situation. You all know this, no? When they have these terrorists who throw a bomb at someone or they kill someone, and then they ask the neighbors about that person, and everybody says, but he was always such a calm and quiet person. Dissociation. Calm and quiet people are dangerous. Yeah. A person who is, you see the charge and they freak out all the time, they are not dangerous because they discharge. You see the activation. When dissociated people, they are dangerous because they can explode any moment. And that is what you need to recognize in a session. If my client is dissociated, be aware. You know, that's why I talked with Elisa, I mentioned that, and she actually herself recognized it, which is a good sign. When somebody is really dissociated, they don't even notice it. So dissociation is a very important phenomenon in therapy, and it needs to be dealt with in a good way. I saw even Hellinger had clients who left the session totally dissociated. They didn't even know what's going on. They were overwhelmed by the session and they couldn't process it. So you don't want to leave or let a client leave in a dissociated state or in a blank state. So you want to take care that the client has a certain level of regulation. So that's why also you only do as much as you feel a person is able to process in a session. Yeah, especially when you deal with trauma. So often people who are traumatized, they overestimate their capacity. Yeah, anyway, there's a lot to say about it, but let's see. Good. Now I can either take another question or we can do another little session with somebody. There was one hand up, Elisa, yeah. You wanted to say something, Elisa?
Yes, thank you so much. So my question is, what I observed when we were working together is that we got to a point where I was not disassociated. I was present with what was. And then I noticed that we wrapped it up there. Is that how you would move forward as a practitioner so that they are not disassociated? Like, my question was kind of like, what would you recommend doing to ensure that your client, if they're leaving or when it's time to complete a session, that they're not disassociated? But I'm wondering if it's almost stop the process in the body.
Well, what we did was we did one round. If I did with you a 1 hour session, we would take another round. But also this is not the setting in a way to do that.
Right.
So I always take care that I don't do more than we can process together, and where I feel, so it's also about stabilizing, no? Because you see very easily things come up for you, and we don't want to flood you with your feelings and then you're left alone with it, no? So I want to make sure that when we bring something up, you also feel the capacity to process it and you don't get overwhelmed with it, because I'm meeting you now and then I leave you alone. No? So that's not so helpful.
Right.
So that's why we did. When I did a session with you and we had more time, we will take another round and see, also give a lot of space for integrating so you can process the energy or the pain or the fear or whatever it is from your past, so you can start processing, dealing with it, and you don't feel overwhelmed.
Right.
We will take care of that. No? It is good to feel the trembling and the emotions, but at the same time, it's good to have a sense, do I feel this emotion is getting overwhelming for me? Then we have to put in a little break and say, okay, let's slow it down a little bit. So yeah, more like this. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Good. It is also a very public setting here also, that also we need to consider. No? Good. So maybe we have another person who would like to explore a little bit, a personal issue or question. Is there anybody like that who wants to take the chance? Okay. Noor. Hello.
Yeah, hi again.
Yes. Where are you? In which country you are?
I'm Turkish actually, but I live in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai.
You live in Dubai, okay.
Yeah.
Good, welcome. I go to Turkey day after tomorrow.
Yeah, I heard it. It's a pity that I'm not there. I would love to come.
Go every year. Okay, so let me hear. What is it that you would like to process?
So actually, last time we spoke, just I had the insight that I was broken many times, like when you said like you were taken advantage of and you are afraid to do it again. Yeah, then I can tell a million times I had that. I mean, whenever I trust completely, and that somewhere I must close it.
Yeah.
I must have closed it. I mean,
yeah. So that is a good point, no? It is good to not trust completely, but just a little bit.
yes.
So keep a certain sense of control. So when you, especially when you meet a person, don't let go of yourself fully, but just a little bit. And a little bit you keep control. Take a moment and notice what happens in you when I say that.
Yeah, it's comfortable because I'm like all or never, you know.
Yeah, you go to the extreme too much.
Yeah,
That's
to the
when
extreme.
the system gets so overwhelmed, no?
Yeah.
So just take a moment and just feel that also right now. How when you go to the extremes, that is quite a lot for you, no? To handle that. Then you have a repeated experience of being overwhelmed, and then it becomes a pattern. What do you notice in your body right now when I mentioned that?
I feel some pain, abdominal.
Yes. Take a moment and just notice that breath, and that you want to lean back in your chair a little bit. Yeah. So when we work also, we also want to take care that it is not too much, and we do a little bit only and not too much. And you don't need to trust totally. So I'm not totally. Just
So
what?
So you touching your microphone and it's
Sorry, yeah. How is that?
Yeah, that's also a great insight actually. Now I had another issue of going to extremes. Like that was the thing maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So you see, it's important. I say sometimes to the whole audience something also. You know, it's important. It is not important that a client trusts the therapist, as we usually learn. It is important that the therapist doesn't demand anything from the client. That is important. The client is free. The client can trust or not trust, and the therapist should be okay with that. That is the important part. And that is a relief for the client, because that means the therapist has no expectation. And that's exactly what a client always misses. Everybody always has an expectation. So we just hang out together for a little while, and then we both go our way. That's what it is about. How is that for you?
Perfect.
You see something in your system relaxed when nothing is demanded from you. Yeah. And from this issue, I can tell there was a lot of pressure and demand on you, probably in your upbringing.
That's true.
Are you the only child of your parents? Or?
we are two. I have a brother, but I'm the older. Yeah.
Older brother.
No, younger brother I have.
Younger brother. Okay.
Yeah.
What's happening now? What memory comes up, or what do you remember right now? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, what you are saying always meant something until now. It's like, you know, the hitting the target points. I can see what I resist, like those being demanded, you know, like, yeah, I can.
What was a demand that you remember on you? Do you remember one demand
Just
on you?
like to be a role model, or like they trust you so much. Yeah, they trust you so much that you cannot even do a mistake.
Okay, so you have to be a role model. Who told you that? Your mother or your father?
Yeah, I mean, in the school, in my family, all together. Yeah.
Let's take a moment for that. When you had to deal with such expectations on you, how did you deal with that, or what did you do with that?
I dealt with not sharing anything.
Not sharing anything, keeping things to yourself, so you don't have to show that you are not sometimes not a role model. Yeah, take a moment. So that's what you learned there, no?
Yeah, it's like keeping your things for yourself, or most effect was about it.
And what helped you? Where did you go when you kept things for you? Where could you relax a little bit?
With my friends.
You had friends?
Yeah, many friends I have.
And what helped you with them?
Like maybe to find your authentic version, without like being accepted as you are, not have to do anything that you are.
So give me an example a little bit.
I mean, I was really naughty. I was like, you know, in the honor part of the school, and also the one who is taken to the discipline all the time, like again in both sides, extreme parts.
When you mentioned that, I notice you're laughing and your energy comes up a little bit. So you enjoyed being naughty, no?
Yeah, I enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah. So take a moment. That was a valve, you know. Yeah, you could leave some of the tension, no, by being naughty. It's a kind of revenge, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So take a moment. Yeah. So notice that how did you be naughty, and how do you enjoy? Well, in what way did you be naughty? No? Have you been naughty in what way?
I get it as a question.
In what way did you have?
In what way? I mean, like doing jokes to people. Well, it's like having fun actually, but not in a nice way. You know, like the things you shouldn't do actually. But
so that is you did things that you are not supposed to do, and that's what was a bit relief for you, no?
Yes.
How is that now when you don't remember what you notice in yourself?
I can understand at least now.
But you see, when I ask you, you're always going to there.
I'm thinking what I have done.
I want you to see yourself, because what I see something else. I see a little sadness in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just give yourself a moment to feel that. Because you were naughty, but maybe you also wanted something. wanted to be loved also. Because children who are naughty, they ask for attention also. In a negative way, but it's asking for attention. So here is that part.
Yeah, it hurts when you realize it.
Mm-hmm. And how is it for you to feel hurt? How is that for you? Is it okay to have this feeling, or it's difficult?
Not very comfortable.
Not so comfortable. That's what I mean. That's what I said. This uncomfortable feeling. That is what we need to slowly process it. Because there's this wound, and a little bit you have to start dealing with it. And that's what I said before. It's this part of Noah that also wants to be loved and seen, cared for. That needs also a little bit space. No? On the surface, nothing matters, so you have it all together, but underneath there's something else. So now notice what happens in you when I talk like that.
Yeah, it's like finding the meaning of, I mean, you do something.
What happens in your body as we talk?
Yeah, in my body.
Now you go out of your body. So
yeah, I felt like it's keeping.
It's a little much. No? So what our topic is quite challenging a little bit. That's why you tend to go out a little bit. I understand. I just want to say, having a little sadness is actually suits you, makes you more real, more contactable, more a real person. So in my view, I don't think you need to be together, and I don't think you need to make a good face or prove anything, but to have a sadness a little bit makes you a more real person, makes you more human. Taking a breath for that. I mean, there are many different layers also, because, Turkish society and religious society, there is a lot of conditioning also there for women. And that doesn't make it easier. So it's not just personal, there's a whole collective. So, yeah, this is a topic. It would be good to work a little bit more with that. Are you living alone in Dubai, or what brings
I
you
have a family. My husband and 2 kids.
You have a husband and 2 kids. Yes. And your husband is also Turkish, or?
Yes, Turkish.
And what do you do for enjoyment? What is it that fulfills you?
Socializing is actually, I love being with people.
Do you like it in Dubai? Or?
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
But like when I go to these issues like therapies, those times I need my space. As you say, I'm not really going out like before. As I'm into these works, I feel like more isolated. But usually, in the normal life, I mean, when I'm not doing these works, etc., I'm very social. Otherwise, I just keep my space. And
this
So inwards.
normal social life is not your real life, you know.
Mm. Yes.
It's your mask.
Yeah.
And when you said, I love it, I don't believe you.
It depends on the people who I'm hanging out with. I mean, not all of them.
Well, it was an automatic response. So you have to, you know, the path of self-development is a path of being more true to yourself. Because ultimately, we only deceive ourselves. Your life is your life, and it's up to you what you make of it. So be true to yourself. So look into this more. And there are also some places in Dubai where you can do self-development. Even in Dubai, there are places like that. I have done groups in Dubai, so I know. Okay, I want to leave you with this a little bit, okay?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay. Shoot. I come. Okay, I want to take somebody who didn't speak before. There is two people I see, Christina and Yvonne. Let's start with Christina.
Hello, Svagito. I recently had an experience where I noticed my reaction was, it was an overreaction. It was just too dramatic to someone that we were supposed to go on a date and they fell asleep. And I reacted in this abandonment, rejection, hysteria. And I almost couldn't get out of bed for a week afterwards because I kept feeling that I wasn't good enough or there was something that I did wrong, which was why we weren't able to meet, and then created drama, and it was just unnecessary. And I knew that there was something else underneath it, but I couldn't get to what the root cause of it was.
Yeah. The root cause, basically, when we have traumatic reactions, it's often a repetition of an unprocessed wound from before. And we get into it automatically because we don't pay attention early enough. If you pay attention early enough, you know from earlier already that something isn't quite right. And we often ignore those early signs. And then when the trauma is in full swing, then it's usually too late to do anything. We lost control. So, but there is a moment before that where you still had control. If you, like you rewind your movie, you know? So was that with a man or what was it?
Yes, it was a date with a man, yes.
Long time ago or?
Happened a few weeks ago, but I still feel I'm...
Okay, let's go there for a moment. Just, was it a man you knew from before or it's a new man?
It was the third date.
Huh? The third date. So you, yeah, so knew him a little bit. So when you go back before this drama started, before that, when you were still feeling okay, can you remember that moment?
Yes, I can, yes.
So can you describe me a little bit what happened there? So you had you were going out, or you had an appointment, or
I was arranging to meet. I felt excited. I also felt calm.
You were
excited.
So slow it down a little bit. Imagine we are looking at a film from the past, And we're looking it in slow motion. So you imagine you look at a movie from a past event, and you like an examiner, and you look every picture one by one, slowly. So we don't, but slowly. So you take one picture like you are cutting a film and you want to see. So you look at an old movie and you take one piece and one picture and one scene at a time. Yeah. So we're looking at the first picture where you were excited and you were looking forward to go out. You were alone at home, or
yes, I was yes, getting ready to go out. Yes.
you were ready to going out. You were looking forward to meet him in a restaurant or somewhere. Or
I was going to his place. Yes.
you had an appointment. You were going to his place, and you were looking forward. Just let's imagine, you see the film. You remember the scene. You leave your house. You get dressed, and then slowly, and then tell me the first moment where you felt something is not so great. Something is a little bit out or off. When was that first moment?
Maybe when the taxi was running late and I was waiting outside for the taxi, I could feel that.
So you were outside waiting for the taxi, and what happened at that moment? Describe to me, notice that, and feel it also.
The taxi driver apologized for being late. And part of me said, oh, automatically, that's okay. It doesn't matter.
But it wasn't okay. So that's important more. So you were actually not okay that the taxi driver was late. So how did you actually feel? Felt a little angry with the taxi driver? Or what did you notice in yourself? Or what did you remember?
More just like my plans aren't going the way I wish.
Yeah.
Annoyed.
And how did that make you feel?
Out of control.
And how did that make you feel to be out of control?
I didn't like being dependent on what was happening outside of me.
Yeah, but how did that make your body feel? You see, we have to go to the body. You feel right now when you remember that moment. What happened in your body?
I think I disassociated because from that moment, I don't actually remember then getting.
You see what happened now? We went too far. You see, you go too fast. Your boyfriend is out of the question. You didn't even deal with the taxi driver in the right way.
Yeah.
It's not a question of the boyfriend even the taxi driver, you had to dissociate. So we have to go back before that. You think it's an issue with your boyfriend? No. Even with a taxi driver, you couldn't deal properly.
Yes.
So let's take a moment and feel that. What was that overwhelmingness there? Otherwise, we don't dissociate if we are not feeling overwhelmed. No?
It was panic.
And what before that panic, what happened there? What created that moment of panic? Yeah, take a moment and now let yourself feel that in your body also, how that feels. Yes. You see, now is the first time you're coming a little bit in contact with your body. This is the first moment right now. Everything else you were before was a bit dissociated. Yeah, just take a moment and notice that. Exactly, and feel that breath coming into you. And pay some attention to that. What is going on there? What is overwhelming and panicking there? What was that? What happened there? What overwhelmed you there? What happened in that moment?
I know what the thought is, but I don't know if I knew it where it was in my body.
What was the thought?
My plans are ruined. Like,
Yeah.
Which is extreme.
Yeah, but this is already, you see, something so important, and if something goes a little bit out of way, something in you freaks out. You see how important it is for you to have control. That's right. You see, if you don't pay attention of this need early enough, you move more and more into dysregulation and into freaking out. But actually very early, it is very challenging to have no control. And there is a big need in your system to have things in control.
Well, go to plan, I can't cope. I freak out.
Yeah, but that is later. But before before you freak out, there's something else. There's always something else. We don't freak out suddenly. There's always something before. You see, freak out is already the peak. But before we come to the peak, there are many things before. We don't just suddenly freak out. Their activation level goes up and up and up. And at the peak, we freak out. But there's many things happen before that. Before we actually freak out. And then we don't listen to that. And then we just let go. And then the automatic thing. It's like, you know, in sex, you know, there comes a moment where you lose control. But before that, there are many moments where you can still have control. You say, slow down, not now, I want this, I need this. There you still have control. But if you don't pay attention to that, at some point you lose control. No? It's like that. It doesn't suddenly happen. So let's just take a moment and just feel that right now. And acknowledging that.
At the moment, there's the anger.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is this big charge in your eyes also, no? Yeah. So let's take a moment and just, let's not go so much into it and just play a little bit. Make a little face, move your face and play a little bit, a bit softer, a bit in slow motion, and process the feeling of anger. Make an angry face, chill your teeth, and just do it slowly and easy, not extreme, just softly. Just very gently playing with that, moving your face, yeah. Because you see, I see anger, but I see also really freaked out expression in your face. So you see, this is not just this situation, this is a whole link, because you see, one trauma leads to another trauma, leads to another trauma, leads to another thing. It's like a chain. And this is just a trigger. Something triggered you, something old, where you lost control, you couldn't handle that. And you were freaked out about it. But sometimes that happens. So let's take a moment a little bit right now and just look around where you are. You're at home in your room?
Yes, I am.
Do you live alone?
Yes, I do.
How is that for you?
I don't like it.
Which country are you?
I'm an Australian. I'm an Australian, currently in Lithuania, and I haven't seen my family since the pandemic started.
So you miss them a little bit, no? Yeah. Give yourself a moment. there's again something where you lost control, no?
Can't control a pandemic. Yeah.
Well, the pandemic is some people traumatizing because it is something where you lose control. You can't do your ordinary life that you used to. Your plans are broken. So that brings up on old traumas where we also lost control, and that magnifies it, you know, for many people. You know? So
But
people
hearing you say that, it's like, I don't know if because my plans are broken, I lose control, or I lose control first and then the plans break.
it doesn't really matter, the hen or the egg, what is first.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
This is all interlinked, you know, so it doesn't really matter. We have to just find a point where we start entering and processing it. So
But I would say sometimes it's a daily feeling.
But yeah, but in a certain way, in which way do you have control in your life right now? Do you have money? Do you have a job? Or how is that situation?
I feel often I don't have control in my thinking or my attitude.
I didn't ask that. I asked, in what way do you have control in your life right now?
I work for myself, so I can control my time.
So you're self-employed, so you can decide when stay, and just allow yourself to feel that. Yeah, I can decide when I want to do which job I want, which job I don't want. How is that for you?
My body's freaking out almost. Yeah, feels, yeah.
No, it didn't freak out actually. It was a little less freaked out right now. But you know, I can see that there is a profound freak out in you. So the work for you will be to find a ground where you feel safe and in control. That's the starting point. Otherwise, we cannot go anywhere. You need to find base. Okay, here I stand on solid ground. Otherwise, everything will make you freak out.
It does, yeah.
No, it doesn't. There's something that doesn't make you freak out. That's what we need to look for. Forget everything else. That's the starting point. Okay. That's what I tried to explain beginning also. Unless there is a certain rootedness, groundedness, and base, you cannot process any issue. You have to find a base, a starting point. Otherwise, one trauma here, one trauma there, one thing here, one thing, it doesn't lead anywhere. It just makes our system more and more overwhelmed and freaked out. Even you go to a group, one person reports this problem, another person this problem, that doesn't lead anywhere. Healing is not like this. Yeah. Let's take a moment again. Feel your feet on the floor for a moment. Just like now, we are not going anywhere. We are just being here. You don't have to solve anything. You have already certain things in your control, and you established your life like that. So you have that. And that is good also. That is your need.
Mhm.
And it is important to respect that.
Hmm.
Let's take.
Hmm.
How is that when you, for a moment, you closed your eyes now? That was actually the first time.
It was good because I could then see something else in the room before I was just in the deer in headlights. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good not to be in the headlights. You know, you can just forget everybody else.
Mhm. Hmm.
So I suggest we do a little all together, a little meditation, everybody. Yeah. So maybe you just take a moment and to just feel where you're sitting. You feel your feet on the floor. You feel your body arriving here. And you drop this idea that you have to solve a problem. For the moment, you're just here sitting in this chair, listening to my voice, sharing a space with other people. You don't have to expose anything. You don't have to let go. You don't have to do anything. You're just here in this moment. And life brought you here for some reason, or you chose to be here for some reason. And just take a moment and just allow yourself to feel, what is it that makes me feel safe and in peace right now? And what in my life gives me a feeling of I'm safe, or I can be here? What do I have in my life that gives me that feeling? And whatever that is, respect that. Don't immediately criticize yourself for whatever you created. Whatever you created, you must have done it for a reason, and some part in you needed that. And see if you can respect that part who needed to do that. And inside your heart, you just say, yes. Yes, this is what my need was. Maybe I have other needs also, but this is also my need. I have the right to protect myself. I have the right also to feel angry. I have the right to feel whatever I want. And there must have been a need at some point in my life. And you say inside again, yes. And you stop driving yourself crazy for having to change yourself. Remembering, change is not in our hands. Change happens to us when the time is right. And we don't need to do anything about it. The flowers of a tree open when the time is right. The tree doesn't do anything about it. It is a natural happening. And if the time is not right, that's also good. Everything is good. Everything fulfills a certain need. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen. And now you take your arms and you hold yourself with your own arms. Yes. And you thank yourself for being here. Often and for making it. Yeah, we all have passed through so many difficult moments. And you thank yourself for making it here. And then notice how you're feeling now. And then with the next breath, you slowly allow yourself to come back. Okay. Is it okay, Christina, if I leave you with that? Okay, good. Yeah, we soon come to the end of our meeting, but there's some raised hand again from Yvonne. Is still there? You want to say something, Yvonne? I see your hand.
Yeah, if we're at the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, if we're at the end, then we're at the end. But I was going to share something that's I'm processing, and I was curious what wisdom you have and eyes.
Okay.
But
What do you want to share? You can share it now.
okay.
If you want.
What I I was raised by two counselors that worked with victims of violent crime, and it was their first baby was the business. And I'm close to 40 now. I'm a doctor of chiropractic and I do constellation work. And I'm noticing that since I've worked through the pandemic and dealt with so much people suffering, I'm noticing that it's becoming so much for me that I feel like I'm burnt out. And I'm questioning of this thought of maybe I can't be a doctor. Maybe I really can't do this and hold this space.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad because I like it.
Yeah, I understand.
But I'm just so sensitive. And I'm finding myself wanting to isolate from everyone.
Yeah. Well, the point is you probably have a skill to take care of other people. and probably developed that skill in your upbringing, because maybe you had to also take care of somebody there. Because children who feel that my caretakers, they have problems or are traumatized, these kind of children, they develop caretaking skills. And this is, out of a need to survive also, because when you take care of somebody, then you still may get something from that person. So there is a survival need like that. And so the learning will be for such a person, I talk a little general now, is to start learning to see your own need. Because the tendency will be to see the need of the other and forget your own need. So if you can manage that, then the skill that you learned in your upbringing is of can be used very beautifully, because you will be sensitive to other people, and that is a skill that one needs when one works with people. But it should be coming out of taking care of yourself, out of respecting your own need first. Otherwise, you go from one extreme to the other, So I think what is needed now probably is to really take care, what is my need, and see that. And when you meet people, to still feel your own need and not to ignore it. So when I work as a therapist, I'm always aware that I'm comfortable. What is my need? I'm not ignoring that while I see the need of the clients. That is important. Otherwise, you will be burnt out. So systemic burnout is a boundary violation. It means you do something as a child what you should not do. You overstep your boundary. You behave like an adult when you are actually a child. That is the root cause of burnout. It's a systemic problem. But how to solve it is simply to start being more conscious of your own need. And of course, you're the people who took care of you, they couldn't do better. So what you need to learn now is to do for yourself what they could not do, to give that to yourself. It's like be your own mother, kind of. And that's why you need to learn what is my need and how can I fulfill that.
So this is good. And I'm usually very good at that. I feel like I love myself and mother myself and all that. And then I feel like now I'm coming into this place of, I know I can't do everything by myself and I need help. And what I'm seeing is that because of my status, people think that I should know already that I don't need help, at least in the community that is used to me from before, of what worked before. Now I'm in this different status and now I don't have my healers anymore. So it's having to bring in another set of helpers. And I keep running into this thought of, I don't want to tell people I'm a doctor and I don't like lying at all. But it's this thing of,
I understand. It's always good to change community and to be in a place where nobody knows you. This is always helps.
Thank you. I purposely chose this room because there's no one in here that I know. And I'm like, oh God, it's going to be recorded. So they'll still see, but whatever. Yeah.
To be too well known or too famous is often not a good deal.
I don't want any of it. I just want to do my work and still be me.
Yeah.
And just not be this thing of, oh, well, she's this, so she should know better. She doesn't need help. Yes, I do. That's okay. I need it.
Yeah.
I find
So you start from there again. You start fresh. Always start fresh.
Thank you.
I mean, we could do a session now also, but now we run out of time. But this is, you are quite clear about it, so it's good. So now it's a, you know, it's a question of practicing. And remember, if you do in small steps, then your need will never be so much because you fulfill it always. If you always put it behind and suddenly it bursts out and it becomes so big, and then anybody will be overwhelmed. But if you always do a little bit and taking it will always be in proportion. So it's a good meditation to always feel what is my need, you know, what do I need now, you know? And the body always will tell you. Anyway, you work with the body, so this is good. So listening to the body, you can never go wrong. Osho once used to say, if there's a conflict between your mind and your body, always listen to the body, then nothing can go wrong. The mind and the body are always in conflict, and we tend to listen to the mind. And what we need to learn is listen to the body. And your body or worker and body work with the body. So that's a little listen to your own body also. Okay. Okay, so beloved friends, we are coming to a little end to our session today. There was still one. Yanni, you can say, want to say something short?
Thank you. I've just got, I hope, a quick question. Based on Nor's constellation earlier, you said something, and I just wanted to find out if it was specifically for Nor's constellation or a life rule. And that was, you said, if you don't trust completely, you said you don't need to trust completely, you trust a little bit. But also, my question is, if you don't trust completely, isn't subconsciously a part of you leaving room for distrust and for things to go wrong? And then, of course, they go wrong anyway.
Exactly. Complete trust is to trust if mistrust comes up too. Real trust means to trust your mistrust also. That is trust. So the real trust is not an opposition to mistrust. The real trust includes mistrust.
That's a tricky one to process and to get my head around.
It's not tricky. The real trust has no opposition. Then real trust includes the mistrust. It is not the opposite of it. Okay, so you think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
This is like with everything like that. The real love is not the opposite than anger. The real love includes anger. So never think that love is the opposite than anger. Absolutely wrong. Good. So thank you for attending this class. I hope you had some benefit from it. If you want to join another session, I will have another one on the 12th. That time will be in the morning time, my time in the morning. I don't know which time zone you're in, but you can look at the schedule. And at that meeting, I want to talk a little more, which we didn't have chance today. I want to talk a little more about bonding and also about collective trauma, which is related. So we will talk a bit more about that. And that, of course, is also systemic work then. So today was more a little bit with the body, and then we will talk more about bonding and collective trauma. And if you're interested also to read more, you can on Amazon in about 2 weeks, you will find, I have 3 books on Amazon also, but the new one will come out in about 10 days, 2 weeks time. And it's called When Life Stops, which is actually trauma. So When Life Stops, Trauma, Bonding and Family Constellation. That is the title of my book. Which will come up. And this is also the topic what we are exploring here. So, and if you have other questions, you can go to my website and you can send me an email and I can respond in an email also. Or Facebook or Messenger, you can write me a message. You have some questions or want to share something. Okay, then I wish you, I don't know, for some of you it's in the morning, for some of you it's in the evening. I wish you a good night or a beautiful day and a nice continuation of this other workshops in this week. And then thank you very much for joining me here. Thank you, Magda, for being our host. And all the best to you.
Thank you so much. I just asked everyone they can unmute themselves and they put their voice to the space and just say thank you as well before I close the room.
Thank you, Svagito.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I will close the room now. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the lovely session.
Good to see you.
Wow, thank you.
Great session.